Welcome to Americana Quill, writer to writer. Please like and subscribe and tell a friend like subscribe. Today on Americana Quill, we are going to discuss episode 4, Lovecraft Country, with who other than Jessie CRAYTON. So basically episode 4, the title is A History of Violence, and the synopsis is this. Montrose learns that Titus' birthright pages from the Book of Names are stored in a vault in a museum in Boston, where Birthright donated a wing dedicated to his career as an explorer. Montrose tries to hide this information from Tick, as he wants his son to stop pursuing magic, but he eventually relents and goes with Tick and Letty to the museum. They break into the vault after hours and find a desiccated corpse bent over the same pages. When Tick tries to take them, the corpse remnants into an artwork. That means two-spirit named Yahima. Yahima tells Tick that Birthright kidnapped them and locked them in the vault after they translated the pages for him. They agreed to leave with the Chicago travelers, but the vault begins to flood, and the four barely escape. Upon returning to Chicago, Montrose murders Yahima to keep them from revealing more information about the pages. Meanwhile, Sheriff Lancaster and Christina vie over control of the Chicago Sons of Adam Lodge. William seduces Ruby, and Hippolyta and Diana go in search of answers about George's death. So there's a lot going on when it comes to episode 4, especially with them all going kind of their own directions. But like, I love that Hippolyta, which is George's wife, is not taking no for an answer when it comes to traveling with them this time, right? And seeking the truth and going with them, because it's like, you're not going to use my car and not tell me where you're going. So no, I'm going with you.
I also think she also doesn't want to lose anybody else.
That's an interesting perspective. A lot.
Like, we might as well travel together. There's only a few left with the same blood.
Right. I don't know. I just think she knew that they were lying, right? So it's like, if you guys aren't going to tell me the truth, I'll find my own truths and figure this out.
Eventually, y'all gonna slip up,
Right.
Hold on, I'm just pulling up more of a synopsis. This is the episode that was directed by Victoria Mahoney, which I told you before that she was the first woman to direct a Star Wars movie, which I just wanted to point it out.
That's big.
I didn't know that. You learn something new every day.
Right.
And it was a very good episode because it kind of gave you Goonies vibe, if you ever seen the movies Goonies, where there was a treasure hunt. It was a lot of action, and it was surprising.
I would agree with that.
Like, just what you saw, you're like, wow. Like, I think my mouth was touching the floor after watching the episode. Just with the adventures that they went on. The fact that they went on a family road trip to go and find out more information, because it's all about learning and, learning more to help, with the cause of trying to figure out how to use the magic for yourself. And I just enjoyed the Goonies aspect of it. Like, a treasure hunt is always fun, and having to get through mazes and, murky water, stuff like that. Like, it's fun. And then finding the treasure, like it's the icing on the cake, especially for an episode, especially when all of these episodes are so packed with so much information, but definitely, like, Hippolyta was like, I'm coming with you.
Right. I love the backstory of Hippolyta in this one, where her and Dee force themselves to go on the trip, but then they kind of venture off and they actually enjoy the museum while the others are trying to find a way to break into the museum. They just actually doing a tour of the museum. And during the tour of the museum, Hippolyta kind of talked about, I guess when she was a kid, she named a star, but they like gave the name to a white girl that came in second place, although she really won the contest or what have you.
He was like, my mama named that star. Like, she was so proud. That was another thing that I just remembered now. Like, that was one of my favorite episodes, is where Dee was like, my mama made that. My mama named it. That's me.
Right.
Not your mama, my mama.
You know, she definitely made it clear.
That's her whole name.
Yeah. So I think that was pretty cool. Is like showing more of like what she's really into, right? Because no one knows what she's into until like episode 3, when she kind of gets into the solar system. And like, I guess, you know, who else would you tell about something of a passion of yours besides like your parents who knew you since you were a kid? So that was kind of spoken about a little bit, but then it gets more absorbed when she's like kind of giving more information than what the actual people that are giving the toys are about different things inside of the museum. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Actually, now thinking back on it now, the fact that Hippolyta and her father have a common interest.
Yeah.
It kind of shadows that George and Dee had a common interest of reading books, you know.
Or comic books and some things of that nature, yeah.
Yeah, and it's beautiful to see a father-daughter relationship, you know, especially generations of it.
Right.
You know, and it's beautiful.
I think it only takes one to break cycles of that stuff, right? If one father is there for their kids, I think usually you would like to think that the next generation will do the same, unless they just decide not to for whatever reason. So like society of like systems prevent that somewhat, but yeah.
It was really sweet though, just thinking about that now.
I don't know if that's my favorite scene, but that was an enjoyable scene for me to see.
Yeah, I gotta stop jumping so quick.
No, that's all right. Don't worry about it.
You know, it touched my heart, but it's one of my favorite scenes. But
so I guess my first, what we usually say is, what was your favorite scene of episode 4?
I think my favorite scene is when they find how to get, you know, they find what they're looking for. They go down the, you know, the little steps. They start, you know, following the map. Meanwhile, it was very funny that Montrose was like, I told you you're not supposed to touch nothing. Don't break nothing. And then they end up breaking something anyway, like, you know, underlying funny. And they get down there and they like, they're like, oh, we got to walk across this long plank that's been here for ages and centuries. And it's like, this is going to hold all of their weight. And Letty thinks that that little bit of support that gives her confidence is that little tiny rope. And she gets halfway out there and she's like, something's swinging at me. And then, you know, he comes behind her and takes the rope off and he's like, you got to go. And she's like, you just took the little bit of faith that I had. And he's like, just go. And like her getting through, but standing there waiting. And then, you know, it starts to disintegrate, you know, the plank, and then he has to jump, and then they all have to work together, and then they're like, what's the code, and then out of the blue Montrose is like, it's Adam, this, and then they get it open and they like fall into into another part of where they have to go.
You see, Montrose is amazing because he's like the genius, but he doesn't want to be the genius. He doesn't want to know it. It's like he doesn't want to, he wants to free himself of anything that can cause him harm. Like he doesn't care for it. And that's why he probably drinks a lot too, right? It's like escape. So it all plays into that.
When your brother died, you became the oldest person in the family. And you know how people say, like, when you're the oldest person in the family, you're the one, the head of the family. So
the matriarch or the patriarch of the household,
Yeah, like he's like, I already don't want this, I'm be drunk. But I start to see him like in that episode where he didn't really drink. He was like focused on the mission. And that's what I liked about him in this series, is that like, yeah, the last series he was drunk, you know, but this series he's about his stuff because
episodes. You kept saying series.
Sorry, episodes. I'm sorry. The episode, like he's about his stuff this time, and it was good to see all of them working together, you know, in that way.
No, I agree. What I appreciate about Montrose though in this episode in particular is more of what I appreciate of him and his character overall is he's always trying to save and protect Chick. However, he's just a natural born fuck up on most things. So it's like, even though he's trying to save him, he's making it worse at times. And a perfect part is like the ending of this episode, but that's beside the point. So for me, like I said, I don't have a favorite scene, but I do appreciate Hippolyta making sure that she was allowed to go on the trip, and then her kind of having that interaction with Dee and like showing a side of her world of what the things that she's truly into, which Dee had no idea about because she never really knew her mom's interest because her mom never spoke about them.
Yep.
And I think that's beautiful that like she knows she's no longer able to play the background because there's no more George, right? So now she has to be front and center for her daughter. So I thought that was very interesting.
Hold on, I'm trying to get back to the thing so I could at least look at some stuff that happened in the episode if I forgot.
Oh, that's fine.
I just don't want to leave something out.
Yeah. So who I would say who has your favorite performance in the episode and why? As you're looking for stuff. For me, it's Hippolyta and Dee.
I like Tick because, without Tick, we wouldn't have been able to complete, I feel like without all three of them, you wouldn't have been able to complete the treasure hunt.
But right. No. Yeah, for sure.
Like when Tick gets into the, I guess it's to me, it looks like a ship, like the inside of a ship. And where, they went to go grab the scroll or a piece of paper. It might be a scroll of some sort of information that would help them. And it wakes up the spirit, and the spirit ends up being a hermaphrodite.
Right. And that he's the only one able to talk to them because he has a similar bloodline to the papers and all that. Yeah, I found that interesting.
I love that part where he was able to, he had no idea. It was like in Harry Potter where he knew how to speak, to snakes. Like, it just came. Like, he didn't know how to do it. He just did it. And that's what it reminded me with Tick is like, his blood is worth so much,
Right.
They put it in the right character. And he was really trying to save that spirit. I don't personally know what happened to her after.
Oh, Montrose killed it.
Okay, Montrose killed it because I remember them going up in the elevator and he punched it because it was making the Cyrus noise. And I didn't really see much after that, but knowing now he killed it, which
Montrose did, thinking like this would stop what's his name from going for magic, but it just made them get into a big explosion of a fight, I believe. Yeah, that was like the very last episode on how they ended it, and that like pissed me off that he would even do like this is Montrose doing too much of being Montrose, like a perfect example of him just doing too much.
He was using his head of the household, head of the family
power, but just making things 10 times harder for them. Pretty much, because at this point, Tick is no turning back for him. He's not going to not find out what this book is and keep it out of the hands or figure out why is it so valuable to these particular people. Because I think now he finally sees that magic is super true and like he now can have some of that. It's a beautiful thing to him and some levels. Yeah. And it's something that needs to be protected, obviously, if it gets into the wrong hands. So I thought that was pretty cool. And like I said, my favorite part of the episode, outside of Montrose just being Montrose and messing everything up, was Hippolyta just about science and just having a passion. And I just thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah, I like seeing the passion come out.
Yeah. So what spoke to you most about the episode?
To me, what spoke to me most is family. Family is key. Family is important. And I really think besides learning the truth, that's why Hippolyta got in the car. She didn't want to lose anyone else, or she didn't want to be there. She didn't want to lose someone else and not be able to be helpful.
Right.
And, even like seeing her and Dee's relationship today, like in that episode, like I love seeing backstories in a way. I love building on relationships and building on stories. And it's true, like you said, like they went there and they went to go love, see something that they truly loved, and the other people was there scheming, Right. Like it was a good story with two different roads that it went down, but they both led to each other,
Right. So I also enjoyed Well, what spoke to me most about the episode was like what towards the ending of when they found the treasure, and then the Arawak, I guess is what they call it, the
Yeah.
Yaima. So for her to be a person who exists outside of like the colonial and constructed gender binary that we all know and the construct of that, and then who then only 10 minutes later to be violently killed feels wrong. However, the character use she or her pronounces of Yaima, and he doesn't seem to indicate this as a misgendering. You know, I thought that was
Yeah.
interesting. And that we simply get that validated from her by using these different pronouns, and just the introduction feels too gazy. So it's like hard for me to truly understand her whole purpose because it was like so quick of what she was there for. Besides knowing that the person that sent her there was horrible, because he's like, he sent her there and be like, you know how you gonna know your family's okay? 'Cause I'm gonna kill them all in front of you. So don't worry about it. So destroying her whole family, leaving her as the only spirit left, and then Montrose to be the one to take out all of her type of people, I thought was horrible.
Yeah.
Because all that woman wanted was to go back to her family, right? And probably go back to where she's from, the roots and everything. So for her not to get that choice, for her to feel relaxed as if like they were safe now because she saw some type of good in Tick but wasn't too sure, for Montrose to like destroy that by what he did was horrible to me. But
yeah, especially when she trusted Tick, you know.
he touched the Tick, but she wasn't sure of why she couldn't trust them all. And I think she knew that some of them would have reservations, and that reservation came from Montrose.
Yeah.
So
I just
thought
feel
that
bad
was crazy.
Yeah, watching like movies like in that like era and even before, you know, like from her time, they just, when people don't know, you know, I feel like that's why circuses were created. Like, you know, when people don't know, they're gonna put you on a show. Like a woman with a beard, you know, a woman with, you know, 12 fingers, or, you know, they're always gonna put you, you know,
Be someone's entertainment.
you can't use you anymore, you know. It's kind of like the Guinness World Book of Records in a way. Like that's how it looks in a way. But I agree, she shouldn't have been killed.
Yeah, so that was pretty whack. And what I do like is that after they go to the museum, I believe her and Dee travel a little bit within Boston, and they to the lodge, I think, and they see like the burnt house, right, of the rebel and everything, if I'm not mistaken, or something.
Yeah.
Which I don't have so much information on because I can't remember, but I know she traveled and she looked on the map and saw certain places that they circled, and then doubled back to check that area of seeing how, like, what kind of happened to possibly her husband. And Dee's like confused on like what's happening.
Yeah, and I agree. I think that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
I feel like I have to rewatch the episode because, guys, there's a lot going on in all of them.
Not always. So that's for sure. So what was like one of your, damn, this one's gonna be a quick one, I guess, because it was really just about them traveling and then them trying to find this book. It wasn't much of new information to be dispersed besides like the books of some of the pages, not the whole book that Titus had for him to get to. So when he gets that, I think it leads to him eventually getting more pages, but that's kind of shown in the next episode. It's not necessarily shown in this one.
Yeah.
So what was your favorite sci-fi moment, if I could say, or paranormal, or a moment that's super fiction, I guess is the best way to put it at this point?
I did like when they were trying to get into the ship part of the thing, and he like, after you see that somebody's arm got ripped off, you just was like, I'm gonna just put my arm in here, you know, not, you know, having faith that his arm wasn't gonna get ripped off. Like, I thought it was pretty cool, especially when, you know, he put it in, it still, you know, tried to bite him, but then it absorbed the blood and like it helped open everything. Which was funny because I thought it was gonna open that door, and then it opened like a trap door, you know, for them to climb up. And also, like at the end where they were going up and then she made that noise and he punched her. Like I thought it was the right thing to do at that time, you know, but not what Montrose did. Montrose
took it to a whole new level. She just couldn't talk. Like they could have just wrote stuff down. Like
Yeah,
And
I feel like, and she had an
it was a
interpreter.
spell, right? It was a spell. It's not. Well, she couldn't talk no more though. That was the problem, and that's when she started screaming like that. Because I think there was a spell, like once she leaves the quarters or whatever the dimensions are of that room.
Oh, okay. See, I didn't even get that. Thank you for enlightening me on that.
No, yeah, because that's why he punched her. It's like, yo, like, what is this happening right now? And she can't stop it because she's probably wondering why is this happening to her right now.
Oh, that's true because they were in the elevator going back up, so they were leaving the I wouldn't say mythical, but magical area.
Dimensions that she was in,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Okay,
So
so yeah,
that's
that.
why he did that. And then they were able to communicate through pen and paper, I think, somewhat, because she spoke a certain language that he could decipher with reading.
Yeah. Okay.
And he doesn't know how to naturally read that. So it's like, yo, how the hell do you get that? And it's all because it's in his bloodline. There's no, so it just shows that he is truly the chosen one. Because if not, his hand would have probably got yanked off too.
Yeah.
Because who put her there is the birthright, who has the bloodline.
And I think
But
that's the difference between Christina and her father because she grew up around magic, and Tick has magic inside of him that he doesn't even know how to use yet.
right.
And it's just because he didn't grow up in a family that practices magic.
Well, I also think he's the closest descendant to the birthright compared to the rest of them. Like the rest of them is like second cousins, once removed type of stuff where that's not him. Tick is like a true arc of the line, kind of, if I'm not mistaken. And that's why they need his blood more than anyone else's that they could use. Yeah. Which I find super, super unique, super interesting. It just all goes back. Every episode goes back to like his lineage, right? And how strong it is.
Yep.
On both sides. He got the faith from like the black side, but then this magical, whimsical world on the white side, which I thought it's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
So for me, I guess the paranormal moment, like you said, is just the whole tunnel, because that was like, I think I was like sitting up, like hunched over, trying to see if they would make it through, like, because it's like. Because of what happened to George after 2 episodes, you're like, oh, maybe it's a pattern. Like every 2 to 3 episodes, somebody's dying. So I was like, who would die? And my money was on Montrose because like you're over here drunk, trying to swim. Probably don't know how to swim. So
don't know how to swim at all.
right, and I think they mentioned that like he wasn't a swimmer. So there was just a lot going on in that episode for sure. But it shows Montrose's genius, right? It's like he just can't get out of his own way because he just takes it a little step too far. And like that's how he was with Tick. If you ask Tick about his childhood, it's like my father could have just told me not to do something, I would have done it. But he always just felt like it was best for him because he was just unhappy with himself just to whip me instead of just telling me, hey, don't do this right now. Yeah. And sometimes he didn't do nothing truly wrong. It was just his father just wanted to take out whatever was eating him up alive on someone else. And that shows more, and you understand why he does that more after basically this episode and a few more. You kind of go more into Montrose's story even deeper of why he's the way he is.
Yeah.
So I thought that was pretty interesting.
I feel like it's definitely a coming of age story for Montrose in a way.
Right. So after these 4 episodes, outside of our protagonist, who should always probably be the main character we're rooting for because the story goes with him and drives with him, who are some of your favorites after Tick?
In the first 4 episodes, it's definitely goes Tick, Uncle George, Letty, Montrose, and then it's Hippolea and Dee, and it's just because of them being in this. My favorite characters will change with the series.
Right.
But I definitely love Letty, and I definitely love like everybody in the first episode. I definitely love all of them, and I have a special love for Ruby.
Yeah, same. That's what I should have said because I feel like I picked Ruby a lot, but it's more of she was the most relatable to me out of all the characters.
That's what I'm saying. Like I relate more to Ruby in the episodes to come than I did now.
Right. Well, Ruby's like the backdrop right now of the story, but hers, she even has a big role too that comes up maybe even episode 5, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe, I'm not too sure. I don't remember.
I think that's the start of it, is
Right.
episode 5, where you start to really know who Ruby is. But like, I'm all about girl power. I keep saying it. I'm all about it. And Ruby, Hippolea, even D, like, just wait, tune in, get on to HBO Max right now. Like, listen, like, watch it, like, be in tune with us, because it only gets better, you know.
Absolutely. That's perfect. That's so true. So is there anything else well, I guess I should give you my list, right? For me, I just love people that remind me of people I know. So Montrose is one, outside of Tick, obviously, just because he tries so hard to do the right thing, but somehow he still messes up. And it's like, you know, you want him to finally do something right, where it's like he's beloved finally, but that doesn't happen in the first 4 episodes.
No, it does not.
Mm-mm-mm. And then from him, I would say I love Hippolea, because it's like she's finding her voice, which I think is very important for women to do. It's like, especially if you always had a voice and then you dimmed it. It's like she tried to dim down her light to make George shine brighter, but she should have shined bright right along with him, you know? And that's where a lot of her pain comes from, which I find interesting. So I like seeing her story and like her finally find herself after the passing of George.
Yeah. I can't wait to see it, Bryn. Like, just her character growing and building. And I love that she's gonna keep the book going. She's gonna keep the guide going and updated and make sure that people know, so they can have a safe travel. And
she made that clear, I think, in episode 2 or 3, when she got mad at Tick for trying to do final approvals without her permission, because that's now her company, you know? So
yeah, that's now her responsibility. She came up with that with Uncle George, and you know, it sucks that, you know, Tick was trying to help out, and you know, he just helped out a little too much.
No, it's not that he helped out too much. It's more of he just, you know, if she really knew why he died, she probably would have been more okay with it. But her feeling like they're lying to him is like, I can't trust you all the way like I'm supposed to. So I don't think it's that. And it's just like, you know, you're trying to do everything that my husband did, but it's like, you're not my husband. So it's like,
yeah. And also, you can't grieve for your husband in an episode.
Right.
You know, even though it's a couple days difference, because I know episode 3 was about 8 or 9 days.
True.
If you watch it.
Yeah, like sometimes the laughs are different. Like one time it's 3 weeks, one time it's like a few days later or the next day. It changes.
Yeah.
So I totally get that. I totally get that.
I'm trying to think.
What's your star rating for this one?
That's what I was thinking. Like,
for me, I think I'm back at a 5 for this one, because it's subplotting everyone into their respective places. However, it gets deeper from where it got left off at from episode 3. So I appreciate knowing more about Hippolea. I appreciate the integrity that Tick has at this point. I appreciate Letty going along for the journey where she could have opted out a long time ago. And just Montrose for like a little bit of comic relief, but like needing somebody to create the tension and the trouble of how it's not so easy to get to the journey because of his own paranoia of thoughts. So I kind of enjoyed it for those reasons, for sure, like, and to encompass episode 4.
I don't think I could argue with you there. I agree with that. I think that is a 5-star episode, and it filled in the blanks of what we were missing.
Episode 3, for sure.
Yeah. And it's just building, and it's building. Like, it's building for the next episode, and it just gets better, and it just gets more impact in the episodes to come.
No, absolutely. I can't wait to knock out episode 5 and 6 for sure, because that's when, and 7, I believe, makes the turn for the better, but it's just interesting because just a sneak peek into what episode 5 is like. They kind of foreshadow going back in time, even more back than the 1950s. But now we're going to go to when Tick, I believe, was entering the Korean War, if I'm not mistaken. So
Yeah.
that should be interesting to like break down.
And you get to see what happens in the Korean War, because I looked it up because I wanted to be politically correct. So it is the Korean War.
Yeah.
And you get to see what he's doing over there and how
a lot of the things from the first episode kind of starts tying in even more. So it's definitely helps, brings it not a full circle, but like a semicircle at this point. Definitely.
I definitely felt like 5 is where I started to like finally understand, like,
connect more the dots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree, a 5-star episode. And I feel like the rest of the episodes are definitely going to be packed with more 5-star material.
The more you repeat it and the more you watch it, the more information you remember, the more of the foreshadowing you see in of like today's times compared to what's happening. For sure, happens. Now that I'm like in my mind, just going all over the place, just a bunch of sensor fires going off, just remembering certain things. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I was like trying to write it down. Like I'm getting in the habit of really trying to take notes when I'm watching something, because I would love to get how I really feel,
Right.
And a lot of, shows have talk shows now, in a way. Right. Where, they want to hear what you have to say and everything.
And break it down and their thought processes, or like how someone thinks of things. Yeah. Kind of like the YouTube reaction shows, like when you watch someone react to something, but like a little bit more in depth for a podcast, for sure.
Yeah, which I enjoy, and I'm very excited to do this with you.
Oh, question. What's your favorite writing from the episode? Like, what episode is your favorite that was written, your favorite, I guess, since we are like a writing and reading kind of podcast?
I think it has to be 1 and 2. Have to be my favorite way that they writ it, because for someone to be able to multitask when writing and making sure that they get every detail in, I wasn't disappointed, even though I was confused in a way.
I appreciate that too.
Yeah, like I told you, I don't mind being confused as long as I'm interested in it. But I definitely enjoyed that. Which ones did you enjoy the most?
I enjoyed the writing of episode 1. I think that was probably a great pilot episode that like was like, wow, I'm blown, and now I got to see what happens next. Yeah. And then episode 3 and 4, I just, even though there's more, I love how all of them are written, but episode 1, 3, and 4, I felt was like so tight knit that like there's nothing for me to be bored about within the story, or nothing for me to like want to look at my phone. Like my phone had to be away from me for those 3 episodes for sure. Episode 2, because I didn't care for horror, is like probably the only reason why I was like, yeah. But other than that, it was like, it's all written very well. It's all structured in such a way that like it's hard for you blink and you're gonna miss something. You're gonna have to rewatch it a few times, and then you'll start connecting different dots and different things happening. Like, especially if you're like into conspiracy theories, like this is like a perfect series to get into, because it just breaks down different nuances of thought. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I told you, I think I like watched it again, and I got to see something I didn't see because I must have fell asleep or, was on my phone or doing something else, not paying attention. And
no, that's how it goes.
Yeah, but I like watching things a few times, because every time you watch it, you see more things you didn't see before. And usually I try to watch 2 episodes before I really talk about it with someone, because you see something, I see something. We also, like, when we see something, no matter how they, wrote it, we're still going to perceive it differently.
No, absolutely.
And that's what I was really excited about when I brought it up to you, because we have a lot of like the same, opinions on certain things, but being able to share this with you and talk about it with you, like,
same.
Yeah.
And just seeing some of the parts differently too. It's like, oh, I didn't catch that. Oh, I didn't catch this. Like, I think that's always pretty cool too. For sure. Yeah. So, Jessie, let's give them some of your social media and your new podcast.
I'm trying to think. My Instagram is I am Jessie Marie. It might be 2 E's or 1 E. Let me look. I barely use Instagram. Oh no, it's just 1 E. I'm Jessie Marie. spelled the girl way, not the boy way. I'm on Facebook, Jessie Marie, 2 E's. And I'm just looking forward to getting into the podcast game like Britton, because he's a pro now.
I wouldn't say all that. Still working my way, but I appreciate that.
And I'm excited. I'm excited to learn from you and make sure that both of our podcasts are amazing.
No, I appreciate you doing this. I think I tell you that every time, but thank you.
I'll tell you that 150 times. I'm always grateful for any opportunity that you give me, and thinking of me, thank you.
Well, it's because you introduced me to this. So I was like, who else would I do this with? And after the first 2 episodes, it was written so well. I was like, I could introduce it to my podcast because I love the writing and I love the storytelling. Like, it's a beautiful story.
And I think the next time that we do this, we might have another special guest.
Yeah.
I'm going to see if I can grab Miss Tut and join her, get her onto this, because it's something that, needs to be talked about, and to the completion of it. Just to break down, because, Miss Tut Miss Tut reminds me of Hippolea.
Right.
When I saw her, that's exactly who I thought of.
For the audience, Miss Tut is someone who taught us like a lot of different things in African American history in like our youth center. So like it going back to like the generation where we kind of started our lessons of like the civil rights era of like Medgar Evers in Mississippi, learning of Emmett Till, which episode happens in a few episodes from now of that. In this, it's like it's kind of somewhat full circle as far as the history goes, with like updated ways of like thinking. We're like sci-fi, just adding different nuances to it makes it like so entertaining if you know your history a little bit. So
yeah, I
think you hear Miss Tut name a lot is because that's where we learned a lot of these lessons from. So
yeah, I'm sorry to not introduce her, but she's an amazing woman. She was a police officer. She worked at Copac High School. I think she was like one of the leaders in Amityville, in North Amityville at that. She started UNEO. It's United North Amityville Youth Organization. It's a great place. They do tutoring, karate, they hold basketball. It's a place for you to go so you're not on the streets doing, getting into trouble, period. And
it's an escape for young youth, basically, is the best way to put it.
I thank God for UNEO, because if I didn't have UNEO, I never would have met Britton.
Oh, same here. No, that's so true. So true.
I love UNEO. Now my, Miss Tut retired, and now my dad and Miss Sanji hold on to it, and they're doing what they're supposed to do for it. It's just the pandemic is holding everybody back.
What's happening with the youth center right now? Actually, that's a good thing.
I think everything's shut down. Like, I don't even think Master Clark's doing karate either. Because remember, like, Master Clark and Miss Sanji were the ones that put karate into like the after school programs with schools and everything. Like, they're amazing programs that they started, especially learning how to defend yourself, learning how to have self-control, learning to deal with
definitely helps with discipline. Yeah.
And me growing up being an only child, like learning how to deal with people and learning how to be a good person and learning how to work through arguments that people have, stuff like that. Like, that's what UNEO teaches you, and it gives you a safe space. I feel like that was the hangout every weekend,
Right.
And we wouldn't be us today if it wasn't for UNEO.
I totally agree. I can't even refute that. I totally agree. So
and you're better than me with UNEO with giving back, I
wouldn't say that. I'm just saying, we all give back however we can. I would love to. I can't wait to be in a position to give back more than what I've done, and because that was only a few years ago. I need to give back more, but I was grateful that I had the funds at the time to do something like that. But
maybe we'll see when they open up everything if we can maybe try and do something.
I think it'd be cool for sure, because I was supposed to do like a book signing during the annual fish fry like a year and some change ago, but because of the coronavirus, I kind of had to, it never happened. So, which is totally understandable. So hopefully one day we'll get to do that again. But for me, I would like to let people know that by this time, my second book, of the Kids of the Diaspora, the sequel, The Black Kid Manifesto, will be out. And as well, probably by the time of this episode, for sure, I expect um, 11 Central Park, which is like a romance comedy, a rom-com book to be out. So if everyone can take the time to maybe read the description, if you like it, to go purchase it, I would greatly appreciate that.
That's in my Amazon thing right now.
Oh, the
I didn't
ebook?
buy anything
Yes.
yet. I have all of them in my.
Oh,
in my box.
I appreciate that so much. Thank you. So I want to say this has been Americana Quill, Writer to Writer. Thank you again to my co-host for the Lovecraft special edition, Jessie
sorry.
Crayton. No, don't be.
Thank you,
I'm glad
guys.
you're enjoying yourself.
I did have fun, and thank you, and I can't wait to do more with you.
No, yeah, we got 6 more to go. So thank you guys. This has been Americana Quill, Writer to Writer. Take care.
Bye, guys.